Okay, good day, everyone. So you're welcome to the second day of the class, and you're actually welcome. So this is the second day of the EG Graphics training class. So I'm going to be teaching you a lot of things, ranging from elements of graphic design and how to navigate your ways using colors as a graphic designer, and how to use colors on your design appropriately. Okay, I'll be teaching on elements of graphic design. So there are four elements of graphic design, which are fonts, layout, color, and image. There are more, such as alignment and the rest contrast, but I'll just be listing these basic ones. Okay, so what are elements of graphic design? Elements of graphic design are those things that actually make up a graphic design. So for you to actually design properly, you need to know the kind of font you use, the layout, which is the arrangement, the color, and the image you actually use. Okay, so I'll be explaining more things in details. Now, what are fonts? Now, fonts are styles of writing. A font essentially is the lettering that graphic designers actually use to put text on their image and videos. Okay, so they actually come in shapes and sizes, and there is likely one for every imaginable use. So for every design that you actually use, there's a particular font that you may actually need to input in that particular design. Okay, so a good image paired with great font actually gives a great work, gives your work an edge, and helps you to convey better message to your audience. You know, we actually talked about graphic design in our last class, and we actually said that graphic design is something has to do with a combination of these four elements to communicate your design to your audience. So if your design is not actually it's not actually communicating a message to your audience, that means there's something wrong in your design, or there's something wrong in one of the elements of your design, be it font, layout, color, or the object that you're actually using. So there are some things that you need to take note of, which is number one, the font. So the font that you actually use to design is the writing. There are different types of fonts. So if you're using Pixel Lab or Canva, or any type of app that you're actually using, based on the ones that I actually taught, I strictly talked about Canva and Pixel Lab, you will notice that there are different fonts. When you go to the area of font, you will see different fonts. Now, there are some places you don't use font. You don't just come and start using italics for no reason on the head word, which may actually destroy your design automatically. Okay, so there are some things that you need to put into consideration when using fonts. So I'll move to the next one. Now, looking at these two designs that we have on your phone now, you see that the first one, this one is the first design, and you can see how the fonts were actually arranged. It was actually arranged irregularly. It was just arranged in such a way that most of the times you may not actually understand what the person is even saying. Okay, they actually use different fonts on. Now, the image will actually be good. The image was good, the arrangement was good, the color was good, but when it comes to the font, it was something else entirely. Okay, although it looks as if it wants to be arranged somehow, but it's not actually something that it's actually good. Okay, so this is not how to actually properly arrange font and use it properly. But when you can actually look at the design on the second design, which is design 2, you can see how the font was actually arranged, starting from Crojan's kitchens, how they actually used the images, that is the object here, together with the food items, and also what they actually provide, down to the booking and everything. And also the last one, which I actually say is taste with delightful. So you will be able to know that, okay, these people actually arranged it well, unlike the other flyer, which you can actually see here, which was not properly arranged. I hope you now understand the usefulness of font and how you can actually use them properly. Okay, most of the times in listing items, you use smaller font, and many of the times in for writing head word, for writing the head word in a flyer or any design, you use larger font, and it could be there are different font that you can actually use on that part, but you make use of larger font, or you increase the size of the font there to make it very, very visible. At least the first thing that actually captures your audience is could be the color, it could be the font, it could be the image. There are different things that captures different the flyer that is being seen by different people. Okay, so what actually captures a particular flyer for me here could be the head word. For you could be the image of the lady there, and for another person it could be the color at the background. So there are different things that actually captures different people. You cannot say okay, the thing that actually captures for all the design is always the head word. No, I hope you understand now. So we'll move to the next part of colors, which is colors. Colors is a very, very important element in graphic designing. Okay, so what are colors? Colors is the aspect of any object that may be described in terms of hue, lightness, and saturations. Okay, so the kind of what this actually means is that, so in colors, their colors differs. That's when you see something like, okay, you can actually say okay, this thing is blue. Okay, so you can actually get something like dark blue, light blue. You can get different names that are still attached to blue. Okay, so when you're even talking about green, you see something like army green, navy green. You see like different types of green. Okay, you can actually attest that, okay, but the general name that you can actually give to a particular color, which is green, is okay, this thing is green. Okay, so now, the kind of design you want to make will determine the color that it will be used for. So for certain companies, there are actually color that the companies originally use. Okay, that is the company, that is the color attached to that particular company or brand. Okay, I'll be sharing some. Okay, now if it is a company that is already have its own color code, so there are some companies or there are some institutions that already have their own color code. You can use the color code to actually get their own design. Now below are the list of companies that actually they already have their color code. Something like Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, they actually use red. Okay. DSTV. When you check DSTV, they are for their on their flyer. Many of their flyers on their logos they use blue color. When you check Miss Pipsa, you can actually see that they use green. Shoprite use red and yellow. MTN, we all know MTN use yellow. You get, so these are the things that you need to put into consideration. And some other institutions, something like hospitality, that is the doctors, mostly they use they actually use a variety of color. They use white for nurses. They also use blue, and they also use green when they are going into for operation and many other things. So these are the things that you need to take into consideration when designing. Many of the times when you want to design for a brand and you already know that okay, this thing is probably an engineering flyer, something like engineering flyer, they use more of yellow or green. They use more of yellow or green. You can just search it on your browser. What are the colors that engineering company use, or what are the colors that so and so company use? That is a general name for a particular company. Something like engineering company, plumbing, doctors, that is hospitality, that is in the hospitals, or just particular to a particular company, so that you can know the color that they actually use. Something like Twitter now, we all know that formerly Twitter was using a blue color that is having a bird there. Now, but it is now called X. So Twitter now has a black logo. So it has a combination, I think, of a black and white thereabout. So you can actually see that many companies have different colors. Okay. Now, what is layout? Layout is the arrangement of items, including images, text, in a design with certain limits. In other words, layout is simply what your design should look like. So in a design, when they say, okay, can you actually describe how your layout is, like how did you get this perfect layout? It actually means how did you get this perfect arrangement? Because the way you can actually give me a particular design and give me the text to use and give me all the elements that I need to use to design it, and give another graphic designer the way I would design it may be different from the way he is going to design it. Why? Because of the arrangement. I hope you understand. And because of the layouts. So it's the same thing. So the way I may actually design my own, I may decide to make my own come from right to left. That is designing from right to left. Or he may decide to say, okay, I'm making my own come from left to right, and then add other features. It may be it may still actually be the same text, the same everything that we're using, but there will be a difference in the arrangement. It may be the same background and everything, but there will be a difference with the layout. Okay, so layout is very, very important in designing. You should put that also in consideration. Now, what is image? Image is the virtual or external representation of something, or image is the virtual or external picture actually representing something. So how do you use image in design? Now, the first thing that you need to know is that you need to know its purpose. For you to use image, you can't just put any image in any design. You need to know its purpose. You need to know why you want to use this image. You need to know its purpose. You need to know why you want to use this image. You need to know its purpose. For you to use image, you need to know its purpose. For you to use image, you can't just put any image in any design. You need to know its purpose. You can't put an image that is a design that is needed for probably a company that is let me just say something that in the hospital, where probably you're actually designing for an hospital. You're designing a flyer, probably an advert flyer to actually talk about the opening of an hospital or thereabout, and then you're not using the picture of you're using the picture of like picture of advertisement, in terms of you're using the picture of a lady wearing ankara or wearing like a fashion lady. It does not correlate. You need something more of like a picture of a nurse, a doctor, a nurse, and every other thing. So these are the things that you need to put into consideration. Number two is choose high quality images. This is very, very important. Now, most of the times, I advise many of my students when you are actually advise many of my students when you are actually picking a design, when you're actually picking an image specifically, it's better you pick images with high quality. You can actually see the one that is on the screen here is of very, very high quality. Okay, high quality are those that are very, very clear. You don't pick a blur image. Many of my students have reached out to me, sir, my client actually gave me a blur image. Tell him to give you a clear image, because when you deliver that design, your client may actually say, okay, is okay, because that is what he gave you. But other people, what will they actually say? You are not just designing just for, let me say, probably no, we actually know that you should design for the satisfaction of your client, but when you should design outside your zone, that is, you should design considering what other factors that are actually around, that are actually around you and just your client alone. So what will people say when they actually see this? What will other people say when they actually see this? Okay, so these are the things that you should put into consideration. Even though your client actually tells you, okay, that you should just design it that way, just design it that way, using this particular image. Many of the times when they reach out to me that, okay, that this is the image that they have, once I know it is blur, I'll tell them, my dear, go and get a better image, or you go to a studio, or you go to just get a better image. Or if you want me to use images on my own, you can just go to Pinterest and get images, or go to PNG tree, get images. Those are images that you can actually get. But when you actually design, there are some things that you have to take into consideration when designing. You don't just use any image anyhow. Okay, there were times that people actually sued somebody for using his own image without his permission. Probably just saw the image online, he was using it as an advert without the person's permission, and the guy got jailed. Okay, I heard this years back. So these are the things you have to put into consideration. I advise that when you are getting images, just go to Pinterest. Pinterest are images that were actually uploaded. Okay, so you can use any of that. But most of the times, you can use random images. When you know that, okay, this person is actually known, don't go ahead using this person as that is actually very, very famous as an advert flyer. Okay, which is very, very dangerous. There are other flyers, there are other images that you can actually use, which are still very, very quality images that are very, very clear. Okay, so these are the things that you need to put into consideration, because your audience will judge your product right away in their first look. And if they can't even see the image properly when then your product has already given them a bad first impression. So this is another thing that you need to take into consideration. Now, another thing about image is that it ensures better contrast. Okay, so when you're actually aligning your colors and trying to use hue or contrast to actually make the colors actually fit in, the image is actually another thing that will help blend the color. Okay, so another thing is that use what is relevant. Just use the things that are relevant. You don't use an image that talks about another thing. Okay, for example, this image talks about a woman and a child, or a woman and a baby. Then you are now using the image um inside a construction company, which does not match. I hope you understand. So these are the things you need to use the image of what the flyer represents. As simple as that. Okay. Then another thing that you need to put into consideration is create focus. In as much as you are using a particular image, make sure that image captures the focus immediately at first sight. Okay, so even though you are using an image probably related to childbirth, you can use a picture. If you are using an image related, if you are designing a flyer related to childbirth, you can use an image of a lady probably on pregnancy or immediately after childbirth, not an image of someone that has already probably his or her child has already grown up, probably about 15 or 17 years old, and that's what you are bringing and you are relating it to. Is related to childbirth. This one have already given birth. No, these are the things that you need to put into consideration. Okay, so now I'll be going straight into the basic types of logos. They're actually just two simple types of logo, two basic types of logos, which are the simple logos and the complex logos. Now, the simple logos are an example of this is just letter mark. You will see many. So these are examples of logos, but I'll still be explaining more on simple logos and complex logos. Now, complex logos may actually include both text and visual attributes that actually get the message across to the target audience. Now, also complex logos can incorporate different fonts, colors, background, which gives businesses a wide range of variants to actually choose from. Okay, so when you see a complex logo, you'll be able to know by you following what I'll be teaching about complex and simple logo now. Okay, now this is an example of a simple logo. I'll give an illustration with this, or give an occurrence that actually occurred in the past. Now, if you can see this by viewing this alone, you will know that this is an apple. This is Apple logo, right? We all know the famous Apple, where Apple as a brand produces, or as a company produces phone. They produce phone, they produce laptop, they produce power bank, they produce a lot of things. Apple produce a lot of things. Okay, now according to the story I actually heard about Apple, why you can actually, because if you can see Apple now, this is Apple, but why is the edge cut? Why is the edge look as if it was beaten? Why does the edge look as if it was beaten? According to the story I actually heard about Apple. Now, the founder of Apple, before he actually became the founder of Apple, one of his close relative, I think probably it was his brother or father thereabouts. Now, there was somebody actually brought an apple to him, and then I'm not talking about the founder himself, I'm talking about somebody related to the founder. So somebody brought an apple to that particular person and injected the apple with poison. So when the person took a bite from the apple, he actually, after he didn't know that it was actually it has been poisoned. So when he took a bite, he noticed turbulence in his system, and then he died. So when people actually came in, they actually saw the apple like that it had just been beaten in one side. So that was what that was where the idea of the founder of Apple actually got this idea, because nobody would just pick an apple and because to use like that. Okay, so that is an idea of how you can actually create a simple logo, or create a logo. You can just say, okay, I want to create a logo for my business. Then you create it out of probably an occurrence of something that have occurred to you, or probably it may not actually, it's not compulsory that is that it may be necessarily be a bad occurrence. It could be a good occurrence. Okay, it could be a good occurrence. Now, for example, you can actually see the founder of X space, or let me just say the founder of Twitter now. Formerly it was called Twitter, but now it is called X. Why? Because Elon Musk, which is now the founder of Twitter. Formerly, he has a company. He already has a car company where he actually creates automobiles, where he creates electric cars. Okay, we already know about that. Then he also has a X space, that is all this space that all this instrument that actually go to the space. Okay, so now when he actually bought, because he bought Twitter, when he bought Twitter, he actually just discovered that Twitter has been named Twitter, and the bird logo and everything is in the name of, still in the, like, representing the former, or the ex owner, the ex founder of Twitter. But now he just said, okay, let me put my own logo, let me put my own name, since I already have X as a space, like he already has X space as the name of his brand. But so he now decided to say, okay, let me just bring it down to to Twitter, and use it as X instead of putting Twitter there. So you can have a company before and just say, okay, there's no need for me to create another type of logo for that company. Just bring a different one. I mean, just bring the one that you already have, the logo that you already have in another company, to this present one, and just use the logo, use everything that is there. Okay, so that is how one can actually create an idea of a simple logo. Now, this is an example of a complex logo. Like I said, complex logo, many of the times they have text, they could have text, colors, and even images, and lots of other things that are actually attached to it, icons and the rest. So you can actually see this is a complex logo. You can see the phone number here. This is Confident Child Business. By looking at this, by looking at this logo, you will notice that okay, this is a man standing here and it looks like a constructor or a contractor rather. You and then looking at this thing that looks like block, you know that okay, this is actually related to construction company, to a company. This is a logo, and you can see the phone number here and the social media handle. So this is an example of a complex logo. Okay, so I will also be showing you the most expensive logo in the world. Now, the most expensive logo goes to Symantec. Now, costing a whopping sum of amount, a whopping sum amount of 1.208. That this is about 1,280,000,000,000. So that is the highest logo. Like in terms of amount, is the most expensive logo in the world that has been sold. Okay. Now, a spot for the logo of a major tech company. So it was actually sold, it was actually made for a tech company. You can actually see it. BP is the name of the tech company. It's just a shortened form. Okay. For a tech company. It may actually look like a hard choice, but people will be like, what is the difference? Is there anything hard in this kind of logo? But this is how much the logo is worth. And looking at it, you know that no, this logo, it requires work. It may look simple, but almost like it is worth the price. Okay, so as the designer Paul Rand, the designer of this logo is called Paul Rand. He said good design is for a good business. So like I have said, a design affects, let me say, the major part of publication of a business. Why? Because people need to see, okay, what's the name of the brand? Okay, let me look at the logo, let me look at the flyer, let me look at things, let me look at how what the brand represents. Okay, so it is very, very important that you get a very good logo for a business. That is, if you are designing for yourself, for your business, or you are designing for a client, you need to give them a very good logo. And synthetic logo is not only a good design, it's a great business. So that was what the founder of, like, let me say, the designer of this particular logo, Paul Rand, actually said. Okay, now we have come to the end of this class. I'll be dropping the tutorial video on how to make a simple logo and a complex logo in the group. I'll be dropping it right now in the group. If you have watched this, or if you have as you are done with this. Okay, so see you in the group.